What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. We're still midway through Game Week 26, but it's time to start thinking about Game Week 27. Another double game week on the horizon, albeit a much smaller one than the one we're having currently in double game week 26. But there's definitely some players I have on my watch list, given performances so far, and also looking ahead to kind of things like captaincy over the next few weeks as well. So I'm going to talk about that in this one. If you enjoy it, please do give it a like. Hit subscribe if you're new around here. Let's jump into the first player. So definitely a bit of a knee-jerk, but it's hard not to notice Gareth Bale after he scored 19 points against Burnley and still has a game against Fulham to come. I am recording this on Tuesday, or at least putting it live on Tuesday, so some of the matches I won't have seen yet, like the second game in game week 26. But he's also got pretty nice fixtures coming up, and I also thought he played quite well against West Ham as well, at least in the second half. Crystal Palace in Game Week 27 is definitely one of the best fixtures you can play right now. Aston Villa in Game Week 29 isn't bad either. And then Newcastle in Game Week 30. Newcastle looking in trouble. Without Wilson, Almiron's now injured as well. St. Maximin too. That might push them to be, or try to be, more solid defensively. But that is a good fixture. Arsenal probably the trickiest one out of the next run of four. But obviously with a front three of Bale, Son and Kane, right? If they're all fully fit, if they're all performing at the levels they can perform, that's going to be a tricky game for anyone, right? Even Arsenal. So I don't think it's that bad of a run. And I'm not saying that we're seeing the Bale of old, but we're starting to see glimpses, I would say. He'll probably never be, that same player that he was when he left the Premier League, when he went to Real Madrid. But he's looking pretty decent right now, I would say. And this is one of those times where I've not even looked at the stats, right? I'm a stats guy. I like stats. I also like watching football and using the eye test and stuff. Guess what? You can do both. I know most people don't seem to think that, but you can do both. But this is one time where I've not even checked the stats. I don't know how many shots he's had in the last 1.5 games that he's played. I don't know what his XG is. I don't know what his expected assists are. But I know from watching him that he looks good. Now, against Burnley in particular, Burnley defence was just not very good. There was a lot of space. But the way that Spurs played, it was difficult to know who to pick up, because Kane at times was playing as a proper number 9, really far forward. Other times he would drop as a number 10 and he was playing in between the lines of defence and midfield. Often when Bale was really far wide right, so obviously Charlie Taylor had to worry about that, Son and Kane would make a front two and Reguilon would provide the width on the left. So it was like a front four at times. So it wasn't just Son right on the left, Bale on the right, and Kane in the middle. It was almost, like I said, like a front four. So it was difficult to kind of cope with that for Burnley. Obviously, we'll have to see how they do against Fulham. Will they play the same, right? And if they do, how well do Fulham cope with it? Because obviously better defences will do better against it. But I think it'll be difficult for them. The key question for Bale is... Well, there's two key questions for me, right? Because this is a watch list. So one, it's for my team. But also two, I'm talking about him because I know a lot of people will be thinking about the same things. What's his fitness levels like? Mourinho's spoken a lot about that this year since he came back into the team. He's not been ready. He's not able to play loads of matches one after another. But he has been starting quite a bit recently. I think if he starts against Fulham, that does one of two things, right? One, it tells you he's a lot fitter than he was earlier in the season. Although, two, it might mean that he misses that Palace game. So we'd have to wait and see what Mourinho says. But I think he kind of said that he's trusting him at the moment. Obviously they'll have to take it game by game. The other thing is, do you go for him ahead of Son or ahead of Kane? Or do you even triple up, right? And that's a big thing. Can we really say that a triple up is a good idea? I think in the short term, there's way worse punts that you can make, right? I think at this stage, I'm not massively worried about games getting called off for COVID, although it could happen. But a triple up with Crystal Palace, the Villa game, which you might say is tough because of Martinez and the way Villa defend, but ultimately we've only got so many players we can choose from in that week anyway. So I would put that down as a good fixture. Then Newcastle as well. There's worse teams you could triple up on, right? And he is going to remain a differential because no matter how many times he's spoken about this week, right, and how good people think he is, it's a lot of money to spend, right? A lot of people would have to take out Salah or Fernandes potentially to fund it. They might not want to do that. Other people will be concentrating on Man City players for this week and trying to ignore them. They might be put off by the Arsenal game. So I think it's a good time to jump on. It's just a case of whether you want to go for that triple up. Like, if I had to choose between Son and Bale, for example, it's hard not to choose Son because you know he's going to play every single week. With Bale, you're putting a bit of faith in the fact that he continues to start, his fitness remains. How many minutes does he play as well? He came off around 70 against Burnley. It was absolutely right for Mourinho to rest players because they were up so much. Was that due to Bale's fitness? Could he have gone 90 minutes, right? These are the questions that we need to find out. So close eye on him in the Fulham game. But I think he looks good. Like I said, I've not checked the stats at all. It's pure eye test. I like the look of him. He's definitely a, what's it called? Calculated risk, I would say, right now. I don't think he's an absolute no-no, but I don't think he's also, the best option that you can bring in right now. But it's a little bit of a risk for a big differential with some pretty good fixtures that also plays in Game Week 29. So Kevin De Bruyne is on the watch list for one reason and one reason only. That is captaincy. So I've had a look, right, and I've done this quite a bit throughout the season, although not necessarily for such a span of time or a span of game weeks, right? But for the remaining game weeks, from game week 27 all the way through to 38, I've had a look at captaincies. There's 12 captaincies in total, and I think I would want to captain De Bruyne or a Man City player 6 times out of the last 12. Now, that might change depending on when the other fixtures get rearranged. So there are some teams, Spurs and Everton and Villa in particular, that will have another smaller double game week. So we're still waiting to see when that's placed. Obviously, if Everton and Villa get placed in double game week 28, then suddenly Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison or whoever it might be gets bumped up the list, right? And I don't captain Kevin De Bruyne. But even then, it would be 5 out of 12. And obviously, as they get closer to winning the league, right, then maybe they'll put more emphasis on the Champions League. But I don't think Pep Guardiola is going to do that just yet. I've had a look. They've got 4 Premier League games, including the one in Game Week 26, so 3 after this game week to play before their second leg in the Champions League, right? And De Bruyne did get rested in the first leg. Maybe they'll do that again in the second one. And also, as much as De Bruyne has had his minutes managed since he's come back, he played 90 in the last game against West Ham. So again, I'm recording this before the game against Wolves, but if he goes into that game and starts again, that will give me the confidence about his fitness levels. Because let's be honest, when he's played or when he's been fit this year, he's played a lot, right? We've not had this rotation that people keep talking about with Man City. There's certain players, Kevin De Bruyne is one, that do play more often than not. Does that mean he's going to play 90 minutes every single week for the rest of the season? No, but he's that good that I would want him in my team. I know the caveat will be, for a lot of people watching this, what about Gundogan, right? I tweeted this out this morning. All I got is replies of, you can't sell Gundogan. Are we writing off Gundogan? Why are you not captaining Gundogan? I think Gundogan is good, right? And I'm looking at the numbers over the season. Gundogan's goal threat is 0.34 expected goals per 90. De Bruyne's is 0.35. So in terms of goal threat, they're not too much different, right? But in terms of assist potential, Gundogan's 0.2, De Bruyne's 0.42. So in terms of an attacking threat for assists and goals, De Bruyne to me is the better option. Now, you might say to me, he's double the price. Absolutely fair enough. But when we're talking about captaincy, money shouldn't be an issue, really, right? We shouldn't compromise on our captain. You might think that De Bruyne is not the best captain. That's absolutely fine. Don't buy him. But if I think he's the best captain, that means I need to find a way to get him in my team. And so he will come in, right? And that's all there is to it. I still like Gundogan. This isn't a case of me selling Gundogan to get De Bruyne. I would sell one of my defenders instead. So either Stones or Cancelo, which I'll talk about in the team selection video. And I'd actually have both, because I think Gundogan is still a good option. I think he is great value. And I think Man City fixtures are really good. And obviously they've got a double up for in game week 27. The thing with the defenders is, right now, Man City triple up was absolutely essential for the last few weeks because they had so many double game weeks. That's not going to happen now. After game week 27, they finished all their doubles, right? Forget that Stones and Diaz have just scored goals. Their goal threat is not necessarily massively higher than any other centre-back in the league. So if I can get... So let's say their max, usually, most weeks is 6 points. Sometimes they'll get bonus points, right? But 6 points... That's just a clean sheet. Well, Chelsea are doing really well. They could get clean sheets. Any defence can get me 6 points in any given week. And if I'm doubling off on attack, it's a bit of a differential like I've spoken about before. And given the response to my tweet, it makes me think that unless De Bruyne goes and gets like a 15, I guess 10 points, but if he got a 15-pointer against Wolves, the reaction to that tweet will be way different. If he comes in with just another 7 or 8, I think a lot of people are going to ignore him. They're just going to see that they've got Gundogan, they're going to captain him. It's not a bad decision, but if I can get a player which I think has more attacking threat and is also a differential for a few weeks, then I absolutely want him in. So I'm pretty sure if I don't go for Bale and I decide that I want to stick to my strategy of the best captain, and obviously if he gets rested against Wolves because he can't keep playing every single game at the moment, and it's a different story. But if he plays against Wolves, he's definitely going to play against Man United. Then I'm just taking a risk that he also plays against Southampton, who are looking pretty poor right now. So it's a good double game week. Then they have Fulham in 28, and right now for me, that's the best probably fixture in captaincy, unless Everton and Villa get put into that week. Leicester away is not great, but they've got good fixtures after that. And the only issue with Man City really is the blank in game week 33. But for me, I've got my watch list. Not my watch list. I've got my free hit, so I can play that in game week 33 if I want. So he scored 3 goals so far this season. That is a worry. But he's had 8.3 expected goals. He's seriously underperforming at the moment. I would hope that that would bring it up. And I'm willing to kind of risk that happens, right? I'll still own Gundogan. So if he happens to massively outscore De Bruyne, fair enough. At least I'll still own him. But for my captaincy, I think it's got to be De Bruyne when Man City have got a great fixture. So the eagle-eyed of you will have worked out, if I want to bring in De Bruyne, potentially, and I want to keep Gundogan, and I have to sell one of my defenders, which I've just said, I have to get someone cheap in, right? Because I can't just afford to go out for anyone I want. I'd love Trent Alexander-Arnold potentially in the future when the fixtures get a bit better. Luca Dean, potentially Ricardo Pereira would still be on the watch list. But I think in terms of price, I've got to go under 5 million. And I think, again, like I said just a minute ago, one of the reasons City have been so important to us is because they've had so many double game weeks, right? In any given game week, if the fixtures are good for City and the fixtures are good for Chelsea, Rudiger versus Stones or versus Diaz is probably not that much different, right? You'd bet on Chelsea getting a clean sheet in most games. You'd bet on City getting a clean sheet in most games. The difference is, versus a John Stones, for example, you know that Rudiger's going to play every single week, which we'll come on to in a minute. So I am strongly looking at him. The Chelsea defence isn't as good as Man City, but it's not far off. And Tuchel's actually come in and improved it even more as well, right? He's got this back three most games. It's Rudiger, Azpilicueta, plus Thiago Silva, although at the moment it's Christensen. But even he is doing okay right now. So you look at the underlying numbers in terms of expected goals conceded. Chelsea are really good. They're an elite defence right now, as nearly as good as Man City, right? We all know how good Man City is. Now, the fixtures don't necessarily scream bring in right now, okay? Because it's Everton at home, Leeds away, and then a blank, right? The reason for it is I don't want to just purely focus on game week 29. So I've already got Davern, I've already got Dallas. They both play in game week 29. Hopefully, we'll have to see if Davern keeps his place. So I could bring in another defender, but I can't double up on Leeds defence. I've already got 3 Leeds players. I'm not looking to sell one probably, although that might change in the next week or so, depending on double game weeks and stuff. I definitely don't want to double up on the Brighton defence. Okay, and then you got Sofal, potentially I could bring in. But the thing for me is, one of my strategies has been not to make too many transfers on defenders. So if I bring someone in, I don't want to have to then think about taking them out again. So if I get Sofal, West Ham's fixtures aren't bad, but Chelsea's fixtures are really good as well, and they're a better defence. So Rudiger just ticks a lot of boxes, and also I don't have to play him every week. I think unless people are free hitting, they're not going to go. Most people aren't going to go into game week 29 with 11 players, and the fixtures aren't even that great anyway. So I'm comfortable with going in with kind of 8, 9, 10, and I've already got. If they all play, I've already got 8 players for game week 29 as well. So even if I use a transfer this week to bring in Rudiger, I've still got game week 28 and potentially 29 to bring in more players for that week if I want to. Again, obviously, if Everton double in 28, so do Villa. So I could look to bring in a few more Villa players if I wanted to. So I've got options there. So I don't need to necessarily worry about the fact that I'm bringing in Rudiger right now. To be honest, Everton at home, not a bad fixture, right? Everton have just struggled to score against Southampton. Chelsea, a much better defence. Could play him against Leeds if I wanted to. Obviously, doesn't play in 29. And then game week 30 is a spell of really good fixtures for Chelsea. West Brom at home, you'd almost put that down as a guaranteed clean sheet. So for me, yes, he doesn't offer a huge amount of goal threat. He scored 5 over the last 3 seasons, but I think expecting John Stones to score a cutback most weeks is probably not going to happen. So I'm kind of okay making the switch. And like I've said for a few weeks now, it gives me that differential in attack by having double Man City attack instead of defence, right? Yes, of course, if they blank, Man City keep a clean sheet, it's not going to look good for my rank. But as long as Rudiger gets almost as many, if not the same amount of clean sheets, or potentially even more, seems unlikely, then I'm fine, right? I think we forget about that sometimes, right? If two people have got Diaz and Stones, they get 6 points for clean sheets. That's great. If someone else has got Diaz and Rudiger, they both get 6 points. It's exactly the same, right? Your rank might go down when Man City play, but it will come back up when Chelsea will play. And I'm not sitting here saying that Rudiger is better than Diaz or necessarily better than Stones, but I don't think he's much further off, given Chelsea's defence, and he's also a cheaper price. Right, so for the run-in, he's played 90 minutes every single game since Tuchel's come in. Not many players have done that in his side. In defence, it's really the only kind of stable place. Even the keeper has changed at one point, right? Mendy came out for Kepa. So I like Rudiger. He's a good way to fund my other moves. And unless I figure out a better, cheaper defender between now and deadline, I think he's going to be the one that comes in. That's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, hit that like button and hit subscribe as well. You can check out all the other content that I have coming up for the rest of this week. There'll be captaincy and team selection, probably not till Friday, with team selection in particular, because obviously the games won't finish until Thursday night, and I want to make sure they're all done before I lock in my captains and transfers and that kind of stuff. I'll have a deadline stream on Saturday, and probably have game week preview and a few other bits in between as well. If there's anything in particular you want to see me do this week, let me know in the comments below, and I'll try and get another video done at some point before the next deadline as well. And lastly, if you've not already checked out Patreon, patreon.com/letstalkfpl, link in the description below. Everyone that signs up is up on the Legends wall, so thank you very much for already contributing there, supporting me and supporting the channel, helping it get bigger and better than ever. We're really close to 150,000 subscribers as well, so make sure you have hit that subscription button. And a big shout out to Ruben K and Ben, who have signed up since the last video. Thank you very much for your support. I will leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you soon.